It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Press for Truth Live. I'm your host, Dan Dix. Today is Tuesday, March the 15th, 2016, and we have had some major developments this week in terms of the agenda towards a North American Union. In case you haven't noticed, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has just recently met with Barack Obama. Of course, this is all over the news now. People are just talking about how they're chatting about beer and joking about hockey and things like that. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, things are beginning to be solidified, very much so. It could be argued, though, that this North American Union agenda can be traced way back, maybe as far as the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, which then ended up leading to the Free Trade Area of the Americas, which subsequently led to the North American Free Trade Agreement, which then subsequently led to the Security and Prosperity Partnership between the three countries, Canada, U.S., Mexico, which then, of course, led to the North American Leaders Summit, which now we have, they call the Three Amigos, who are meeting all the time. So this is a progression that's been happening incrementally all along here, but now Trudeau is really starting to fast-track this plan and this agenda as he's now meeting with Barack Obama, as I said, putting these things together behind closed doors. Let's have a look at what CTV News has recently just put this out in regards to Trudeau's visit. Obama and Kerry praise Prime Minister for policies, takes jabs on hockey and Bieber. U.S. President Barack Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry welcomed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to Washington Thursday, offering praise for his policies on climate change and refugees, while throwing jabs over hockey and Justin Bieber. The president also announced he will address the Canadian Parliament in June. That's pretty interesting. Obama's visit to Ottawa will be a part of the so-called Three Amigos Summit, a meeting between Trudeau and Obama and Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto. It will be the first time that the summit is back on Canadian soil in nearly a decade. And yeah, the last time that the North American Leaders Summit was here, back then it was called the Security and Prosperity Partnership. And that was the now infamous protest, the SPP rally that took place in Montebello, Quebec, where those three agent provocateurs, police officers, were caught red-handed, undercover, acting as agent provocateurs, inciting violence in order to justify a shutdown of that protest. We documented it extensively in our film United We Fall, where we chronologically go through all of these and all these various trade deals and how it's led up to exactly what we are now seeing today. CTV News continues. Obama said he felt an affinity to Trudeau because the new prime minister had campaigned on a message of hope and change and is committed to inclusivity and equality and climate change and closer trade relations. From my perspective, what's not to like? Obama said. The two met for more than 90 minutes on talks in the Oval Office Thursday morning, discussing a range of issues, including climate change and trade. I believe we have laid the foundation for even greater cooperation for our countries for years to come, Obama told a joint news conference in the Rose Garden after the meeting, and I would like to think that it's only the beginning. Well, yeah, indeed, this is the beginning of something major. In fact, Obama is recently now talking about the beginning of Agenda 2030, and this is, of course, what has developed out of Agenda 21, which we knew as Agenda 21, and we have a clip we're going to air later where Obama talks about this, and in fact, We're going to be speaking on the line with our guest, Dean Ryan, who's going to help us break all this down because he's currently organizing a rally to help save the tiny homes for the homeless in LA. Now, this all plays into the agenda for Obama's Agenda 21, or what we're now referring to as Agenda 2030. Now, the Tiny Homes Project, this is something that I think is really, really cool. It was launched by a guy named Elvis Summers, and he decided he was tired of seeing people living in their cardboard boxes. If the homeless people are allowed to have a little cardboard box of a home, why not give them something a little more decent than just a cardboard box? Why not a wooden box? Why not a pretty nice wooden box? And so this gentleman started putting these together and giving them away. And now we have the city of Los Angeles is trying to shut them down, and in fact are going in and removing these homes from the homeless. So this plays into a much larger picture, a much larger agenda that we're going to be talking with our guest today. But before we get to our guest on Skype, we're going to cut to this clip. A couple of news clips here that are outlining what's going on right now in Los Angeles, but really this is a global movement. I think the idea of getting off the grid and trying to be self-sustainable is a growing movement. So we're going to continue to pay attention to this. Watch this clip here for the news explaining what's going on with the Tiny Homes Project. And when we come back, we'll be joined here via Skype with Dean Ryan, who's organizing a rally to help keep these homes for the homeless. Here's the clip, and when we'll be back, we'll be joined in studio here online with Dean Ryan.
I started last May building tiny houses, providing temporary shelter for those that need. I've attempted along the whole way to get all kinds of people and organizations involved, including the city, but they've refused to be involved. Now the city has gone as far as to make an amendment to an ordinance forcing me to remove all the tiny houses from the streets directly while they're giving their speech to the people, saying that they're going to spend a lot more of our tax dollars and help people, but they're really evicting people. I just had to evict an elderly woman whose veteran husband is missing in the city. It's really frustrating that I seem to be the only person actually doing something now to help people, and the city is still claiming that they're helping people when they're really not. They're wiping out camps all across the city. So unfortunately today, I have to remove all my houses from these bridges and store them until I can turn it around and file a class action lawsuit.
Tiny houses for the homeless are now being taken away by police. Dozens of homes, the size of a parking spot, were set up in Los Angeles over the last year as a chance for those in need to have a roof over their heads.
It's cold weather at night. It's going to rain here pretty soon. We don't know if the rain might take us away. I don't know.
More than $100,000 in donations from around the world poured in to help builder Elvis Summers with the project.
There's a lot of good people on the street struggling to get ahead.
Now, city leaders want them to go away. According to the LA Times, some were removed as part of a street cleanup. Others were seized to stamp out street encampments, a sanitation spokeswoman told the Times. The mayor's office says the city's committed to getting homeless more permanent housing. In the meantime, these folks in need of shelter and with nowhere else to go will stay put. For InsideEdition.com, I'm Lee Sheps.
Such a great effort, incredible that they managed to raise $100,000 and were able to do that, but now have the city of Los Angeles turning it all around and trying to take it away from them. And joining us now on the line is Dean Ryan. And Dean, first of all, man, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Press for Truth.
Thank you, Dan, for having me. A big fan of yours, you know that. So thank you for covering such an important issue right now.
Well, it is a huge issue, especially because of the fact that the city of Los Angeles has just pretty much tried to shut this thing down. Now, you're going to be holding a rally in a few days from now. I want to get your thoughts on that and what people can expect. But first of all, break it down for us a little bit about what the Tiny House Project really is, and why do you think this is important at a time like now? Well,
the Tiny House Project, the tiny homes, is really it is actually giving the individual power to make change. Because as you know, anyone that's been to downtown LA, it's really a tent city of people with schizophrenia, with drug-related issues, battered women, people that are victims of the justice system and that are thrown out on the street. And as many know, a lot of the homeless in LA are veterans themselves. So someone like Elvis Summers took it upon himself to do something about it, not just let's just give tax dollars away and all these charities. With government, you don't know where it's going. So we wanted to provide houses and make a difference ourselves and not wait for someone else to do it. And that is really a threat to the power structure of the LA City Council, which is highly corrupt and immoral, by throwing these people out in the street. Not only that, but confiscating their camping gear and confiscating several or more of the tiny houses, and they refuse to give them back. So that's why I took it upon myself to really get behind this, not just an event, but a movement to finally rid homelessness once and for all across the country, or in North America and the world.
Well, as you said, I mean, this is empowering people and giving the power of them to be self-sustainable to themselves. And I mean, giving it directly to the people who are affected the most, the poor people, the people who the government have really screwed over the most and taken everything away. All we're trying to do is give them something back. What are these homes comprised of? Like, tell us a little bit about what do these guys actually get and what's being taken away from them.
Well, these are very simple homes. They don't really occupy a lot of space. I know the council wants to say they're occupying space and all this public land. And, that's fine. They can make that argument. And we're willing to actually talk to them and find a relocation for all these places. But it's a simple shed, people like a tool shed in your backyard. Simple housing for when it rains or it's cold or any kind of weather conditions, that you and I would get sick in, is really giving these people just a little leg to stand on before we can figure out the rest of the problems with them. And, it's just basic, as I'm coining the phrase, of awareness, solutions, and compassion for others. And we have to decide, how are we going to treat fellow human beings that are less fortunate than us, number one. And number two, are we going to roll over and let the power of and the heavy hand of government really kick people back on the street, just like, as you know, and you've covered yourself, just like kind of they're doing with the ranchers themselves? Are we going to roll over and just be another statistic and continue to let people suffer in the streets as we go shopping? Or are we going to have a little bit of compassion for these, a lot of them veterans and less fortunate, and make a difference? And not just talk about it, but actually start being about it. And that's why we want to create these tiny homes for the homeless.
Yeah, that's such a noble effort, and it's such a worthy cause, really. And I mean, it's gotten now to the point where the system is cracking down on you guys. So you've been forced really into having to organize this rally and are going to raise awareness about this. Who's going to be attending this, and what sort of things can people expect on Friday?
Well, Friday, March 18th, we want to shock the world with difference, with real hope and change, not just a bunch of people getting together playing guitars on the steps of City Hall. We're actually going to show people that the power of the individual is alive and well in America, and it's going to be around the world, that this is not just an event. This is going to be a movement, and it starts March 18th. And I'm speaking, Elvis Summers, the main person, is speaking. The other organizer, Marisol Medina, and good friends of Liberty, such as Adam Kokesh, are going to be there, and they're going to speak, as well as Sean Stone and Brian Engelman of the New American Media. So there's a lot of independent media people that are all about liberty. They're going to talk about how we get over this hump of LA City Council. But you kind of mentioned it too. There is a bit of pushback, and without getting too detailed, there's been some anomalies of some sinister things done to my colleagues with some unmarked cars and some very nefarious things like that I don't want to get into. So this is definitely unveiling the Wizard of Oz and showing the people that the emperor has no clothes, that there is an agenda to keep these less fortunate homeless. Because how do you justify $250,000 salary if you're the mayor? How do you justify $100,000 salaries for the LA City Council? So we'll go over the salaries. I'll list them on the 18th, and we're actually not even calling it a protest. It's a rally. It's a celebration of life. It's a celebration of the power of the individuals coming together to make positive change and not wait for elected officials to do so.
Now, the title of this video is talking about reversing the trend of Agenda 2030, and I have a clip we're going to show in a little bit of Barack Obama talking a little bit about this. But how does this play into the bigger agenda here, the big picture that of the global government trying to get the control of every single individual on the planet? I mean, is that really what this is all about? Is fast tracking Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030? Could this essentially play into that agenda?
Oh, absolutely. 5-6 years ago, livable square feet in Santa Monica, California was around 500 square feet. And, you could look at Craigslist and you see the apartments, and the livable square feet now in LA, it's about 280 square feet. And, that falls right under to United Nations Agenda 21, or I guess Obama is now renaming it the Sustainable Living Act of 2030. And it really is a consolidation of people, not only to get people on the grid, but to manage how we're living and, get rid of products like meat. They don't want people to eat meat anymore. They want to control the food supply and how much we can get, and so on and so on. And all that information's out there. And, if people don't understand what Dan or myself are talking about, it's on Wikipedia if you trust that. But there's so many documents talking about this. And it's not just going to happen in 2030. It's happening now. It's under the disguise of, the green movement. It's under the disguise of, let's help the homeless, through city council objectives. So what the rally is about March 18th and moving on, it's not just about we got to get these people tiny houses. It's about saying no to a global governance from the UN that's being placed upon Americans, Canadians, and people all over the world. And this is definitely going to be a torpedo into that Death Star of control called the Agenda 21.
I love how you are going to be breaking down the conditioning and the brainwashing, essentially, that's been happening using these buzzwords like sustainable development and things like that. Things that sound good, things that sound like things that, working together in a peaceful nation towards prosperity. These are buzzwords that sound fantastic. These are the kind of things that Barack Obama talks about all the time. In fact, we're going to play a clip now of recently Obama giving a talk at the UN talking just about what his plans are. Now, notice, folks, the subtle language here. And it's hard to disagree, you would think, with some of the things he's saying because they sound like good things. But today, after this clip, Dean and I will break down for you how, what he's actually talking about is quite literally the opposite of every single thing he says. So pay attention to these words, and when we come back from the clip, we'll break it down for you here. Here's Barack Obama from the UN talking about the future of sustainable development.
It's a great honor to be here to address the topic of sustainable development. In many of our nations, especially developed countries, there is among our general population a genuine compassion towards those in need. There is a recognition of the grinding poverty that so many experience every day around the world. And yet sometimes it's said that our efforts to combat poverty and disease do not and cannot work, that there's some places beyond hope, that certain people and regions are condemned to an endless cycle of suffering. Here, today, we put those myths to rest. And so let the skeptics and cynics know development works. Investing in public health works. We can break the cycle of poverty. People and nations can rise into prosperity. Despite the cruelties of our world and the ravages of disease, millions of lives can be saved if we are focused and if we work together. Cynicism is our enemy. And now the world must act. We cannot leave people behind. And so today we commit ourselves to new sustainable development goals, including our goal of ending extreme poverty in our world. After all, it is a lack of development when people have no education and no jobs and no hope, a feeling that their basic human dignity is being violated, that helps fuel so much of the tensions and conflict and instability in our world. And I profoundly believe that many of the conflicts, the refugee crises, the military interventions over the years might have been avoided if nations had truly invested in the lives of their people and if the wealthiest nations on earth were better partners in working with those that are trying to lift themselves up. And this demands new technologies and approaches, accountability, data, behavioral science, understanding that there's lessons that we have learned, best practices on how people actually live so that we can dramatically improve outcomes.
So you'll notice there, folks, the language is very, very subtle in how they get people to play along with this and to feel good about it, essentially. I mean, what are your thoughts on how this is being sold to the public? Not only from Barack Obama, all around the world. The United Nations is trying to sell us on this. Like you said, it's almost, they're posing it as, can't we all get along and be one big happy family? But meanwhile, they're afraid of guys like you. I mean, I guess the question is, what are they so afraid of? Why are they afraid of guys like you and this movement, or at least this kicking off into a movement?
Dan, I am quite intimidating, as you well know. So, but besides that, I agree with Obama in the sense the world needs to act, and it's true. We need to act against the demonic, venomous puppets like Barack Obama and Trudeau and heartless, cold city council people that occupy sovereignty of free people. So we do need to act. We need to react. The world needs to come together and unite against the psychopaths putting the stranglehold over free people and individuals that just want to do their own thing. And government could definitely help, and they could definitely help by getting the hell out of the way. And I totally agree with his assessment, if that's what it is. But this is really important too. And I want to tell your viewers this: what he's saying and what we're talking about. It's really on the heels of an executive order that was signed about 7 days ago, and people probably don't know about it. But Obama signed Executive Order 13391, the Patriot Defense of Liberty Act. And what this allows, and it's tied into Agenda 21, it allows the United Nations, the UN troops basically will occupy all federal land up to 250,000 troops, and it will only take a matter of hours for them to get here because they've been planning this for a long time. As you know, a lot of troops have been UN troops have been rehearsing this in the United States for quite some time. So that's important too. And they're getting ready to really put the final death grip on all Americans. So we got to get this message out, and the more we educate, the more we wake up. I truly believe we can stop this through peaceful means. At least I hope we can.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to stopping it through peaceful means, what do you think about the potential for this to kick off and even a huge movement of just being off the grid in general? And what do you think about that whole idea of just kind of stepping outside of the system, global non-compliance, and trying to live off the grid, whether you're poor or of middle wealth or if you're wealthy? What about this idea of just getting off the grid entirely?
No, that's what we should all be doing, and a lot of people are doing that now in California through homeschooling because of the SB 277 mandated vaccine on children, and a lot of parents and mothers, don't want to go through that. It's really criminal. I mean, I've met a lot of these mothers and the damage that, I don't want to get too into it, but the damage that's going on to our children, the damage that's happening to homeless, it's just incredible. And to see that in your hometown here in LA and across California, it's truly it's like an act of war against free people. Mm-hmm. And with this new executive order and, with the president's speeches like that, it really, it's very foggy of what the future is going to hold. And really the only answer is self-sustainability. And, people like Adam Kokesh who are doing that out there in Arizona, and homesteading and tiny homes. Actually, tiny homes is not just for the homeless. The tiny home movement is people that want to be minimalists, get off the grid, because being off the grid is the greatest threat to the establishment, because it just shows them that we don't need them. We don't need them at all. And, we can come up with things like tiny houses. We can come up with things like cryptocurrency or local currencies. So they're just ruling themselves obsolete, and that's what they're afraid of. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to show March 18th on the steps of LA City Hall, just how easy it can be to keep someone from being homeless, how easy it can be. We don't need to wait for election cycles to help one another. We can take care of each other. We don't need a bunch of sexually compromised politicians in suits to tell us otherwise.
Yeah, it comes back to the classic mantra of be the change that you want to see in the world. And, it's really about getting in there. If you want to see it, well, go get it done. And that's what these guys are doing. I want to show you their website here. On Facebook, it's the My Tiny House Project LA, and we'll have links in the description. And here their mission and vision is to create tiny houses and shelters, rebuild communities, help those who need it, and to inspire people to be doers and to act now for a better tomorrow, and to open their minds to compassion and empathy. We need your help, though. So, of course, this is a very ambitious project, and is it going on in other cities other than Los Angeles? Has this spread? And second question, what is it going to take to make it spread to even more cities, do you think?
Well, there's little inklings of this going on in places like Austin and New Hampshire, but really I would say the epicenter of where this really is getting kicked off is right here in LA. And I really predict that you're going to see a domino effect go around, not just in the United States. I think it's going to spill over to Canada and other countries as well. But the whole world is going to be watching what's going to happen here in LA. And, it's not easy doing these things. And, there's no corporate sponsor. Budweiser's not sponsoring this on the 18th. And, we're really looking for help from people. I put out a donation for myself, trying to get this rally started and continue more rallies so we can go to other cities and make this thing happen and get it started off. But if people want to donate, I really advise people, if you can't be at the rally on the 18th, please help donate. Every dollar counts, even if it's just $5. And this is not going to be an easy thing, and it's not going to stop on the 18th. It's going to continue as this movement grows.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have links in the description, and folks, I want to encourage you to check out the links, show your support, pitch in to Dean, because he's doing good work to help people who need it the most, the people who are out there struggling on the streets, literally not able to survive, and it's unfortunate that we are the ones who have to step in here, but that's just how it is, folks. If these people are going to get any help, it's going to be through, guys like Dean, guys like Elvis Summers, who are helping to, get this back to the way it's supposed to be. So, again, Dean, what are the links? Make sure you tell people the Facebook links, and also where they can go to learn more from you if they want to follow your work.
Right. Okay. So there's a Facebook link. And it's growing by the day. It's Tiny Houses for the Homeless Rally, and the link will be in the description here and on this video. And also, if people want to follow what I'm doing and what's really going on, kind of have a message board, you could just go to my Twitter at @TheRealDeanRyan. And if you find in your heart to donate and support me and support this movement to make sure it doesn't end on the 18th, people can feel free to donate to me at paypal.com. I'm sorry, paypal.me/TheRealDeanRyan, and all those proceeds go to help this cause and keep us running. And it's like I said, we don't have Guitar Center sponsoring us or any of the big guys. So this is really an individual effort to really be the voice for the voiceless and really take on the establishment with celebrating the power of the individual and through peaceful means.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as we kind of alluded to earlier, that this is one of those things that the elite fear the most, essentially, is self-sustaining individuals who can take care of themselves, essentially, and then eventually become entrepreneurs and then contribute to society. Would you agree that that's, I think that's what it stems down to, that's the one thing that the elite truly fear the most is this ability for people to be self-sustainable and to be able to not have to look up to the nanny state, essentially. I suppose what you're trying to do here is free people's minds from the tyranny of the state, right? To let them know that they can do it on their own.
Well, right. When you only have 20% of the populace voting in the presidential elections, 80% of the rest of Americans must know something, or they're not well informed. And a lot of people, when they're getting their information from, things like The View or the Comedy Central or whatever the mainstream is, a lot of that is, in my research, and, I do a lot of talks, is a lot of that, it's emotional manipulation. And they're really playing off people's emotions. And they're really going after the women. And, if you get the women, so follow the children, then the men. So I think that's a lot of what the media is today. It's really dumbed down. And as one of my moles in CNN International, she told me, she said, before we get all the news and before we give it to the Americans, we make sure we dumb it down and make it real Disneyland-like. So that's the kind of low information we have in America, and it really takes people to get this information and really consolidate it and articulate it the way that the common person can understand. And that's what I'm trying to do, and that's been my mission, not only for this movement, but for the past few years, and trying to get that across to people. Because if we can wake up enough people, we can stop this thing, and we won't need a standing army. And that is my true hope for doing this, is building a better future rather than this 1984 banana republic society that's been installed in our brains since the Department of Education has taken over, and since I was a young child. So I'm just like you, Dan. I'm just trying to wake as many people up as possible.
Well, you're doing a great job, man, and on behalf of the homeless people in Los Angeles, thank you. I'm sure They owe a lot of gratitude to you for that. So keep up the great work, man. We look forward to seeing what comes of this rally on Friday. We'll have links in the description. Once again, man, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on, and keep up the good fight.
You too. Take care. All right, folks, that was Dean Ryan, and he is heading up this rally coming up in just a few days. We're going to have links in the description to where you can get involved. If you're in the LA area, head out there, show your support for what these guys are doing. Adam Kokes is going to be there. Dean Ryan's going to be there. It's a great cause, and again, hopefully this is going to spark a larger movement, essentially, and just not just be isolated little pockets, but this will eventually catch on and lead towards this idea that we talk about here all the time on Press for Truth. Global non-compliance is really what I think we ought to be working towards. So on that note, folks, I want to leave it at that. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and remind you that we rely on your support for this show. So check the links also in the description to where you can join us as a PFT member here at Press for Truth, or you can contribute at patreon.com/pressfortruth. Even as little as $1 a month helps to keep this operation going, so we can continue to put out weekly live videos for you and video reports all throughout the week. So check the links in the description. Once again, folks, thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you right back here, same time, same channel, same place. Until then, folks, keep fighting the good fight.